one, go. Introduce yourself, Reed, and tell us who you're talking to.
I am Reed Allen, and I'm talking to Grandpa Hansen, and I'm going to ask him questions about his musical life, as far as that goes. Okay, and when did you first start taking lessons?
I was about 12 years old, I guess, when I started taking lessons. And I was lucky in that I had an excellent teacher who had studied under one of the great violinists or violin teachers in the country. She'd gone back to New York and had studied with him, so that the foundation that I got was exceptionally good, I thought. And this can make a big difference in how people progress on this instrument, because there are a lot of fundamentals which, if respected, can get much better results than if they're not, good wrist movement in your bowing arm and intonation and some of these things which a lot of people don't really think a whole lot about, but a good teacher will help you understand them.
And what's your favorite piece, favorite pieces that you played?
Well, I like an awful lot of music. Most classical music I like. Most of the standard violin concertos, I guess, are my favorites. I guess the Brahms and the Mendelssohn and the Tchaikovsky would be three of my real favorite pieces.
Okay. When and how did you get your violin? This one right
When and how did I get my violin?
Yeah.
I got my violin while I was overseas. I found it in an abandoned house, in the attic of an abandoned house in Germany. And I played it, and it sounded like a pretty nice violin. It had a good tone, so I just carted it around the rest of the war in my duffel bag and brought it home with me.
That's good. Did you play any orchestras when you were young?
Yes, when I was about your age or so, I was playing in of course I played in the high school orchestra, and I played in an orchestra of high school students, which was called the Southern California High School Symphony or Youth Symphony or something, which they got high school students from all over Southern California in, and it was a great, big, huge orchestra. And I played in that for a couple of years when I was in high school. And then I played in it for a year or two in the Glendale Symphony Orchestra when I was in, I think I was probably in junior college at that time. And then after that, I played it more or less on rare occasions, I guess, through the rest of my life. Just played it in church and a few various and sundry programs that people asked me to play in, but other than that, I haven't really devoted a whole lot of time to it. It would go for months without ever being played at all, and then I'd get it out when I had something to do. That's my biggest incentive, really, to play it, is when somebody asks me to perform somewhere or do something.
Did you want to play violin, or was it your mother? Or?
I don't know. Actually, I started out taking piano lessons when I was about 8 or 9, but piano and I didn't get along that well. So then I waited a year or two and we came to California. That was when I was in Salt Lake. And we came to California when I was 10 or 11, and then we found this teacher who was an acquaintance of some friends of ours who were taking from her also. And they liked her real well, so that's why when I got started taking them from her, I just figured it something I wanted to do, and I enjoyed doing it. And all the way through high school and so forth, I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and practice, because I always had to get to school, and then after school, of course, I always had work to do. I had a paper route or work in stores or whatever, and so I never got a chance. The only time I could really practice was early in the morning.
Interesting. Did anyone else in your family play violin?
My sister took the violin for a while. In fact, she was nearly up to the same level that I was at one time in terms of our lessons and so forth. But then she kind of dropped out along the line and more or less gave it up. But she did play it for a little while. Neither of my parents played any instruments at all. So.
Yeah, so.
In fact, nobody in my family that I know of was really an instrumentalist. I had one cousin who sang quite well. In fact, she was in the Tabernacle Choir for a while.
Have you had this violin the whole time, or have you
I've
had
had it
other
ever
ones?
since I was in the service back in 1945, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had it about, nearly 45 years, nearly 50 years.
Is it true that violins get better as they get older?
I don't know. I think it depends on the player.
Yeah.
If a good player plays it, they sound great, and if a poor player plays them, they sound terrible.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than a poor violin play.
Yeah.
Violin is a very hard instrument to play because it's not like a piano where each note is
Just there.
the tone is there if you hit the right key. But with a violin, you can be off just the slightest bit, and all of a sudden you realize that things just aren't quite right.
Yeah.
And that's where the real skill of violin playing, I think, comes in, being able to hit the right spot all the time.
Yeah. Did any of your kids play violin?
Say again?
Any of your kids play violin?
Well, Louise took violin lessons, yes. I think through high school. She was in a high school orchestra, I think, as I recall. And but I don't think she's done a whole lot with it since she got out of school.
Oh, really? Well, I can't really think of anything else to
I
ask.
think that's about it, do you?
Yeah, probably.
Well, I'll just tell you this, Reed. You have come a long way with your violin playing, and I'm really proud of you. I was a little concerned when you first started out because I don't think you had the right kind of teaching, and I think you know what I mean. But as you have gone through and you've gotten some additional help from some other teachers and so forth, you've come a long way, and I'm really proud of you. And I think you're doing fine, and I hope you'll keep it up and do it like I do. You don't have to do it for a living, but you can always bring a lot of pleasure in your life if you'll just kind of keep up on it a little bit, play it all, every so often, and keep in practice a little bit, so that then when people want you to perform for them, then you can give them some pleasure, and that's what the whole thing is all about.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I wish you good luck with it.
Yeah, thanks.
People too. Two of his other friends. He's made their kids or their friends interview them.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, what can I do for you?
How did you woo Grandma? How did you court Ardeen and Mary Jane?
Well, I met Mary Jane. She was a sorority sister of my sisters at the Y. And she was my sister and my mother's choice for me. And I came out of the service, and I was getting old, relatively speaking, 23, 24 years old, and I needed a wife, and they said she'd be a great wife for me, and so I proceeded to date her, and we ultimately were married in the Salt Lake Temple, and we had our problems, and I finally had to divorce her as of 1972. I have long since forgiven her failings, as I have hoped she has forgiven me mine. Ardeen, I met through a friend when she was working for a bank, a large bank down in Los Angeles. The only problem with Ardeen is that she lived clear out in Hermosa Beach. I mean, she lived about, it was a good hour's drive from where I was living, but I still felt that she was someone worth knowing, and so we got to know each other well. I met her about, I guess, 6 months after I'd left home with Mary Jane, and I courted her for just about a year before we finally decided to tie the knot, and we were married by my brother-in-law, Clarence Oakley, who was in the state presidency. Matter of fact, he was in the state presidency with President Hunter. He was his first counselor in the Pasadena State presidency when he married us, and I believe that's correct. And so anyway, and then we have just gone on from there. We lived in Glendale for a short time, and then we moved to Pasadena to the house on Orange Grove. I don't know whether you remember that or not.
I don't.
This was the house right next door to the Tournament of Roses house, the old Wrigley Mansion. So it was a real nice condominium. It was just a large, nice condominium. And then in 1980, when we retired, we moved to Bloomington, St. George, and we stayed there about 8 years, and decided we preferred a little bigger city, and Ardeen was not real happy with the LDS environment there, because she is not a Mormon, and is rather pervasive in that area. So as a consequence, we kind of compromised. I told her I wouldn't go back to California, and so we bought a condo here in Las Vegas for a couple of years, and would come down on weekends and so forth, and then found out that it was Las Vegas was a nice town once you get off the Strip, and had all the other normal facilities. So, you know, all the California markets and drugstores, and had lots of schools and lots of churches, and so anyway, we bought this home here in Spanish Trail, and we've been here since 1988. And I think we've enjoyed it very much here.
Were you in a fraternity in college?
I was in a dental fraternity, yes, but not in a social fraternity. It was kind of a social dental fraternity is what it was. I lived in, as a matter of fact, when I was in dental school, I actually lived in a fraternity house for a year, because we could get our meals there, and you know, had the usual camaraderie of fellows who were interested in the same thing you were.
Mm-hmm. Do you still keep in touch with some of them?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I still have some really good friends who have, with whom I stay in touch with.
Yeah.
I also have, I just have one real close friend, a buddy of mine that I was in the service with. He and I ran a message center together when we were in combat, and he's a grape grower up in Madera, California, and we still keep in touch with them when we pass through that area sometimes.
Good.
And they have come here. But other than that, people from my past mostly are friends that I've known through the church or through golfing association, associations, that sort of thing.
Ask him about his golf.
One more time. How often do you golf here?
Well, I don't golf here at all anymore, but I did golf about 3 times a week until I had this surgery. And that's behind me now. I don't know whether I'll be golfing anymore or not. It just kind of depends on whether I can get my strength back from these 2 operations that I've had.
Do you do it after it cools down or in the early morning?
Oh, well, we usually go out to any time between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning, because otherwise in the summertime it gets too hot, and in the wintertime we'll start out a little later. We did start out when I was playing about 8 o'clock, but that's generally the way it worked. I have a group of fellows here that there's 10 or 12 of us who get together and play golf and make up teams, just arbitrarily make up teams and have a small wager, and it makes it kind of fun, you know.
Well, so how would you do?
Well, I did reasonably well, I think, all things considered, although I have to admit my handicap has gradually increased as the years have gone by.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me?
I love you.
Thank you, Grandpa.
There's one of 10 very sweet, dear grandchildren that I have, and I'm really proud of.
Thank you.
This has been a delightful weekend for me to have all of you here. I hope we can all get together again sometime.
We will.
Look forward to see what happens. But you're a good group, and like I say, I just love you all to pieces.
Dad, what kinds of message would you like to leave to your grandchildren? What would you tell them that you've learned that you'd like them to not have to live through?
Don't get cancer.
Okay.
Aside from that, it's just learn to take life as it comes. Don't be too concerned about things over which you have no control, but control those things over which you do have some control. I'm speaking both ethically and morally, and all those things which are basic to the kind of lives that I'd like to see all of the kids live, as have my daughters all lived, and of which I am really very proud. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. And I thank the good Lord for his atoning sacrifice. It will give me a chance, hopefully, to rejoin him. If he hadn't done that, I hate to think of where I might have been. But anyway, it's been a good life, all things considered. I've accomplished a lot of things. I've taken some licks that I would like to have avoided. I've had some disappointments in my life. But you know, this is living. This is just what comes from living for each day and whatever comes up. But the important thing is try to maintain your equilibrium and your balance. Don't get angry over minutiae. Get angry over important things that you can do something about. But aside from that, try to live each day as it comes and make each day worthwhile. Try to accomplish something each day that adds up to a lifetime that you can look back on and say, well, I think everything worked out ideally. And of course, obviously, that is awfully difficult to accomplish, and it's easy for me to say that because everything didn't work out ideally for me in many respects. But if I can pass it along to the kids who will learn from my experience, then my life will have been worthwhile.
Your life's been very worthwhile, Dad. And we love you lots. You've been a wonderful dad and a wonderful grandpa. And I'm glad it's going to keep going for a while and that you're doing so well.
I hope I can stick around a while longer. At this point, I don't have the foggiest. It could be 6 months and it could be 6 years.
Yeah.
Or I could be like my mother and live with cancer for 30 years and die at 96. So
We can hope.
if I can enjoy good health. But as I've told Ardeen, when the time comes that I become a burden to people, then I'm just going to fade away. Because I can't bear the thought of constantly being a load on other people. But if I can continue to, I had great health up until 3 or 4 months ago, and just gradually coming back. I've got all my weight back now. I had lost about 15 pounds, but after these surgeries, and I'm still lacking the strength that I had.
But I'm impressed with how much you have since I was here a month ago.
Yeah, well, like I say,
It's really come back a lot.
To use an old cliche, it's coming, so is Christmas.
By Christmas, you'll be back to playing golf.
I hope so, I really do.
I think you will.
Or we'll just, like I say, I live each day, one day at a time, do what I can do what I have to do, try to keep my head straight, and do those things which are right as much as I can with my human frailties, and pray that all my children and my grandchildren will do better than I have done.
Now I'll change the subject. Have you talked to anybody about playing golf? I mean, put it on the tape to any of the kids about golf?
No, I haven't, but
When did you start playing golf?
oh gosh, I was well into my 50s when I started playing golf, or at least let's see, I started playing golf about 1960, early 60s, because that's when we had our place at Arrowhead, and we joined the Arrowhead Country Club as a charter member when they first opened it up there, and I think about 62 or 63. And your mom bought me a set of golf clubs, and so I proceeded to learn, and I undoubtedly learned badly because I did not go have any instruction. I just did it from observation, and like anything else, if you're going to do something, as I was telling Reed, get a good teacher for whatever you're doing. Get somebody who knows what they're doing and can get you off on the fundamentals right. Then you're going to save yourself a lot of time, a lot of trouble, and your end result's going to be worth a little more worthwhile. But as I say, I've almost always lived on a golf course. As a matter of fact, we lived on a golf course in La Cañada, and Ardeen and I, the house that we bought in Bloomington was right on the golf course, and of course this house is right on the golf course. So this is it's been a substantial part of my recreational life. Yes, of course we had our boat at Lake Arrowhead, and that was all fun, and we've done a lot of traveling around the world.
Where are interesting golf courses that you've played?
Well, golly, I played Pebble Beach, and I played Skyglass Hill, and played some of the golf courses down in the Palm Springs area. Actually, Spanish Trail here is as good a golf course as I've ever played. there's 27 holes here, and it's nicely manicured and maintained, and it's a very good facility, really.
How much golf were you playing before the surgeries started in
Like
June?
I say, I was playing about 3 days a week.
What's your handicap?
Can we go to the next subject?
Are you shooting your age?
Not even 20 years from my age. No, my handicap is gone. One time,
What was your best handicap?
my best handicap was an 11.
Oh, that's not bad.
Now I'm up in the middle 20s. So as you see, my problem is simply that I don't have the strength in my arms and shoulders to hit the ball as far as younger people, or as far as I did 20 years ago.
That makes sense.
And as a consequence, it always takes me 3 to get onto a par 4 hole instead of regulation 2. And so you add 18 strokes to to an 80 hole, someone who should shoot 80 if he could get on in 2, and all of a sudden I'm close to 100, and that's about where I'm at.
Yeah.
But like I say, I've never played golf for anything except just simply the exercise and the fellowship.
Yeah.
I usually have a $2 bet with the guys I'm playing with, and sometimes I win and sometimes I lose.
Remember, we used to tease Grandpa Miner about being able to shoot his age when he was playing and he was
Yes,
80-something.
well, Grandpa Miner was an exceptionally good golfer for his age.
Yeah.
He really was, no question.
Well, Recreation Park was probably an easier course than this, too.
Yeah, that's probably true. It was a shorter course and very few problems like lakes and
Yeah.
big stands of trees and one thing and another,
Yeah.
like we have here. But other than that, like I say, I've enjoyed some of the trips we've taken.
Where have you been on trips? Which trips have you liked?
Golly. We've been to China.
When did you go to China? What year
We
was
went to
it?
China early. In fact, we even postponed a trip to Australia and New Zealand because we decided we'd rather go to China when they first opened it up back in the early 80s, 80, 81, somewhere along in there. And all the women were still wearing Mao jackets. A woman could be 9 months pregnant and you'd never know that she was because nothing fit. And they were all the same color. They were all a greenish. But we had a wonderful trip to China. And then we went, like I say, then a year or 2 later, we went to Australia and New Zealand, and we went over and saw Carol in Iran,
And that was real early. What year was
that was 76, I think.
Yeah, because she was there
She was-
75 to 77.
And so we saw her over there. Yeah, I'm glad she traveled a little bit. It gives us an excuse to, because we traveled over to Thailand and Malaysia
Yeah, Malaysia was just last year, year before. About a year and a half ago.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. She was there 92, 93 school year.
So we went to Malaysia and Thailand and Singapore, in that neck of the woods. And Hong Kong we've been to. And then we've been to Europe. We got over to England. I got as far as 100 miles from St. Andrews Golf Course in Scotland. We made a call home to our apartment in Abilene, and the manager was quitting, or I don't know, some horrendous thing was happening, and we just had to simply get in the car and drive back to London and catch a plane. And we had a 3-week trip planned to a week in England, and a week in Scotland, and a week in Ireland. And life still owes me a trip to Scotland and Ireland. I wanted to go up and at least see the famous St. Andrews Golf Course and some of these things, but maybe we'll do it another time, hopefully.
Yeah.
We were also just literally 10 days from leaving on a trip to Paris, and then over to the Rhine River and down the Rhine River for a night, and then from Cologne to Berlin, and then to Berlin down to Prague, and then from Prague down to Vienna, and then from Vienna to Salzburg, Then from Salzburg over to Geneva,
Oh, what
and then back to
fun.
Paris. We had all of our tickets bought and all our reservations made. And then they came up with this lousy cancer thing, and that just wiped out everything.
Aw.
So we're planning, we're gonna, if I'm still around next spring, we're gonna try to do it then.
Oh, good. That's beautiful, beautiful country.
Yeah.
That's where I was on my.
But anyway,
Trip.
like I say, I've done a lot of fun things in my life, and I can't. So I'm not the least bit regretful of the enjoyable things I've done. I'm regretful of some of the other aspects of my life which have not been as ideal as should have been. But that's still water over the dam, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
dwell on that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know what else I can say. I've talked to everybody else.
Oh, I know his favorite joke.
Huh?
Rachel wants to know your favorite joke.
My favorite joke. I'm not really sure I can remember any favorite joke. In fact, my memory is getting so bad now, I'm not sure I remember any jokes, period.
I always remember.
I told Rachel one yesterday, I think.
I'm always remembering you doing puns.
Yeah.
Well,
You're good at puns.
punning I've always done, yes. I'm a very punny fellow.
The other thing I always think about with jokes with our family was Tom Swifties that we do at Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Remember that, especially with the Hawks? We would do all those silly.
Anything like serendipitous and
I don't know. Anyway.
no, that's not the word. What is it? Surreptitiously?
Surreptitiously?
Surreptitiously, that's the word I was
Oh.
trying to think about.
Oh, will you pass me something to put on my waffles? Said Tom surreptitiously.
Yeah,
That one?
right.
Okay.
That's the idea. You got it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun at Arrowhead. I think that was one of the more fun times of my life, except for the time that I got blown out of a boat.
Yes.
That wasn't too fun, but I have to chuckle a little bit because I remember my bill at the hospital in Lake Arrowhead at the time for the doctors in the hospital. The whole show was $716, as I remember.
And you were in the hospital for 2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
Whoa.
The hospital was $16 a day, and those dear Catholic sisters there, they took good care of us and didn't ask a whole lot of us except just, and the doctors were real good up there. I think they handled the situation very well, so I'm grateful for that. It's a good thing that when the boat exploded, that we immediately jumped into the cold water, because I think that's
Yeah.
what saved us from having some serious burns.
Yeah. Well, you still had some serious
Well,
burns.
I've still got
You got
scars on
scars.
my legs and arms, but
Do you still have the mark from your watch band?
I don't know whether I do or not.
That's what I remember.
I don't think
Is that
so.
faded? Because I remember that there used to be a mark on your arm
I've
from
still got.
where your watch
You
was.
can still see it if you look really
Yeah.
closely at it, but it's not too obnoxious. So.
Now that reminds me, what other things have you noticed that have changed so much in cost? What did things cost when you were a little kid? How much was a loaf of bread or
I
a quart of
bought
milk?
gasoline for a nickel a gallon, 20 gallons for $1.
Yeah.
I have bought. We used to buy. In fact, during the Depression, we lived on Franco-American spaghetti at 10 cents a can, and 10 pounds of potatoes for a dime. Everything has changed so, and quite honestly, the world is not the same place today that it was. The people are less honest, generally speaking. The whole ethical level of the business world is hooray for me, to hell with you, to a point of where you just can't trust anybody anymore. A handshake doesn't have any meaning anymore. These are the things which have disturbed me the most about my later years, and watching and seeing how people behave themselves in situations where they can stick it to you if they can. I had that experience down in Arizona that cost me $750,000, and that was just pure unadulterated deception. But nothing I can do about that. You know, you can worry about things that have happened in the past, and you know, nothing has any importance really from this moment back, because it's happened. That's it, and there's just no point in being concerned about it, because you can't change it. It's just a fact, and you may not like it, but you can't change it. And so to dwell on it is a very emotionally frustrating and negative attitude, which I think is not conducive to a happy life.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're doing so well and you're so happy now and things are going pretty well, except for the cancer.
Things are going reasonably well, all things considered. And we'll just kind of, like I say, my life these days is live each day as it comes, and look forward to the future with as much hope as you can, and let it go at that.
Thanks, Dad, for putting up with all this recording and Ken.
Well, I just want to say thanks to Ken and to you and to all of your kids and to all of my other kids and all of my grandkids for coming this weekend. It has been a very, very special occasion for me. Of course, it's been the first time that we've all been together as a family. To my knowledge, have we ever all been together?
Oh, yeah, but it's been quite a few years. It's probably 3 years ago. We were all at Carol's for dinner one night. 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that shows you what my memory is. 'Cause
Yeah.
for some reason or other, this has been.
But we haven't all sort of stayed in one house
That's what I mean.
since we all came to
Oh, we may
St.
have
George.
been to dinner or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think I ever had all of you at St. George at the same
Yeah,
time. Did we?
there's a picture on your wall, but
Yeah, that's true.
I think Kimball was a baby.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't all of us. Carol didn't have any children, and I didn't
That's
have
right.
Keith and
That's
Julie,
right.
and
Well, this is the first time that
so
the present family is all
that
been
that all
together.
of us and all there's going to be until there's grandkids, my grandkids. Neither Carol nor Louise and I are going to have any more kids, so we hope. Yeah, so to have your whole family, everybody together,
Yeah.
this is the first time.
So anyway.
So it's
been fun. And
it really has been a great
I'm
weekend.
grateful for you for coming and being so good about everything.
Oh, well, it's
Anyway,
been fun.
Been a great
You
weekend.
need to go and
I
take
know you do.
Darn.
So we'll let you go.
Oh, Keith wants to ask you a question first. He's the last
Okay,
one that
Keith.
hasn't been on the tape.
What do you got for me, buddy?
What was it like when you were 9 years old?
When I was 9 years old? When I was 9 years old, I just lived at home with my folks, and we lived right next door to a ward church building, and they had just built a little tennis court, and we had started to play a little tennis, and I just had some of the kids around the neighborhood that we played with, and then just went to school, and then came home, and of course in those days we didn't have television, and we didn't have games on computers and all kinds of fun things that you've got now. So you have a lot more things to occupy your time than I had. But I love you, and it's been fun having you here. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Did I lose?
Maybe they're playing Wheel of